it doesn't all go away, even if you read the right book and you do the right journal prompt, but it's a process. And I feel grateful to say that I've never felt as low as I felt from my lowest point in school. I've had low moments, but I've been on a steady climb. And I think for people, like, we need to think about the healing journey as an upward spiral. You're moving upward, but there are going to be times that ball spirals down, but then that momentum carries you up higher the next time, up higher the next time. And so, if you're on a downward curve, it sucks, it's shitty, but like you're curving up. And that's kind of been my experience.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of What It's Really Like with me, your host, Molly Burke. Today, I have a very exciting guest, and I feel like we're doing a little podcast swap.
Yes.
Because years ago, I was on your podcast, and now I was like, knock, knock, knock. Come on mine.
I was like, say less, Molly. I'm there. Give me the time and the place. And I'm so glad that we can do this. And I'm so glad that you have a show because you're just such an incredible speaker. You're so inspirational. You're the type of person who should have a podcast.
Stop. This isn't about me, Victoria. The whole point of this show is that I don't want it to be about me anymore. It's no longer the Molly show.
Secretly turning this into an interview and I ask you the questions.
I was going to say, you're too much of a podcast host. You're already like accidentally slipping into. So Molly, tell me about your.
You know what? It is great to interview, though, podcast hosts because we keep the convo going. When you have someone who doesn't have a podcast or do stuff, they don't understand the art of conversation.
No, this is what's so great. I'm so happy because I feel like last time when I was on your show, like we could have kept talking for another hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it'll be the same today.
Yeah.
But for those who have no idea who the iconic Victoria Garrick Browne is.
Oh, wow.
Who are you?
So for the majority of people, hi, my name is Victoria. Oh my gosh, who am I? I mean, let's get deep and existential quick because I was just thinking about this in the car. It's the weirdest thing about being a content creator, which I am full time. On paper, I could say I was a former Division I athlete at USC. I played volleyball there. That's where I started YouTubing. I gave a TEDx talk on athlete mental health issues, which really started my career as a public speaker. And then I got on TikTok in the pandemic and started talking about body image issues and became an advocate in that realm. So it's really been having things I'm deeply passionate about in my own life that I then take to the internet and I make content about. And that's become my career. But to the existential point, I was thinking about this in the car earlier is like, wow, now when I think about the future and I want to have kids and I want to move into a home with my husband and, it changes. What I'm talking about changes. My priorities in my life change. And so the content changes. And then, you wonder if you're allowed to change and everyone hates when their favorite creator changes. But then it's like, I had a friend tell me recently, you can't alter your life. You can't not live the life you want to live so that it's okay for like this parasocial relationship, So I mean, I'm figuring it all out. How's that?
When your life is also your career, there's such like a weird blurry line because we can't stunt our growth and development to remain what somebody's like favorite character on the internet is. But at the same time, you feel a pressure to, and I think it almost becomes difficult for people to realize that like my content is a show I produce. That is also my life. It's like this weird thing where it's a job and it's real, but it's not all of the real because there's a lot behind it. Like there's so many layers and it's so blurry and I can completely relate. Like we've both been content creators for a very long time. I've been doing this, this August will be 12 years.
Wow. Congrats.
You've been doing your podcast for 7 now.
Mm-hmm. And
then how long have you been like just talking shit on the internet?
I have been posting videos since 2017 for real. I think I started in 2016 exploring and poking around with some more on Instagram. But yeah, I would say it's been for sure like just about almost 10 years. And it's wild to think about all the different seasons of life I've gone through and all the evolutions I've had. And, I want to give credit to my like amazing community because they're always so supportive for my next chapter and they're so here for me. And when I get on a podcast and I have a crisis moment and I'm like scared to shift or shed into the next chapter, they're so supportive. And, it's really, I wonder if I use it as a scapegoat to not address the fact that maybe I won't let myself change and I put myself in a box. And I'm scared of the unknown because I've realized that what I'm doing now works. I've started to realize recently I actually carry around like more fear than I even realize.
I absolutely can resonate with that. And I feel like it's weird. Like for me, I started at 20. So my entire 20s, I'm 32 now, my entire 20s are on the internet. And I don't know if you ever feel like this, but a viewer could watch a video I posted 9 years ago. To them, they just watched it.
Mm,
So what I said in that video is true to them right now, but it was true to me 9 years ago.
yeah.
So there's like this weird thing where I'm like, I might not even believe that anymore, but to them, I do still believe that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange that people can kind of like pop in and out of your life,
Yeah.
or people will inevitably like stop watching you for a couple years and then something goes viral and you pop back into their feed and they remember you and then they're like, oh my God, you've changed so much. And it's like, yes, it's like when you don't see your nephew for a couple of years and then, because you live halfway across the country and then you see each other and you're like, whoa, you're 9, not 5. You've changed. It's like, I have changed.
Yeah, I've never thought about it the way you described it with that whole they could discover a video from 9 years ago now and resonate with that. It's so true. And I think I actually feel guilt when like I can't be more of what they wanted 9 years ago. I used to make volleyball tutorial videos and it was really fun. I was playing on a college team. I was able to teach lessons and techniques to aspiring players. And I'll still have people be like, I literally, oh my God, Molly, before we started recording, everyone, she said I give like Aritzia girl energy, which you know what? I'll co-sign. I fucking love Aritzia. But I was in an Aritzia and a cute woman checking me out was like, oh my God, did you play volleyball? And I said, yes, I did. And she said, I used to watch your videos all the time on YouTube. And that's like such a cool moment. And it's crazy to me to think that there were like other volleyball players who watched those videos. And now there's probably still volleyball players who find that video because it's one of the popular ones in serve receive or defense or whatever it is. And then they're like, I want more. And then they go to find me and they're like, I haven't played in a while and I don't make that content anymore. I feel bad because I'm a people pleaser and I want to be everything for everyone. So I think that eats at me too.
How does that I used to watch you all the time feel for you? Because I get that comment all the time. And like, I'm not oblivious. Like, my views peaked back in like 5 years ago. Like back in 2019, I could post quite literally anything on the internet I wanted to, and it would get 100K views in under 24 hours. Now I post a video and I'm like, please hit 20K. Like, I understand that like I'm much less viewed now than I was then, but it's like such a weird pang in my heart when I meet somebody who's like, oh my God, I used to watch you all the time.
Right.
Because like, why don't you still?
Right. They're essentially saying, and then I got over you and I
Yeah.
stopped.
Now you're irrelevant to me, but you were cool.
Yeah. I feel like when people say I used to watch, it's usually they say I used to watch your volleyball videos. So to me, it doesn't feel as hurtful because I actually stopped making that content. I definitely don't consider myself a creator in like the legendary realm of like you as a YouTuber and like the other iconic YouTubers like during the era you're describing. I remember watching and like knowing who those people were. And so it is crazy to me that I sit here with you today and I'm like, I know you, we're friends in this industry and I'm on your podcast because I was a consumer of like watching Alicia Marie's vlogs and like James Charles and Remy and like all those people. And so now 10 years later to be like in the industry, it's wild. I can only imagine what it felt like for you all. Honestly, I can only imagine because I feel like the demand is still high now. And then what you guys were experiencing was next level with like VidCon and all that. I didn't experience that.
The industry has changed so much over the 12 years that I have been in it. Like, it's wild. I mean, platforms exist that didn't exist back then. Vertical short form content, literally never. Like,
Wasn't
that
a
just
thing.
wasn't a thing. Instagram was for photos, Snapchat was for stories, and YouTube was for video content. And like,
Mhm.
it was all very specific and segmented. And there was not only like less forms of content to consume, but there was less creators to consume. So it was much more
True.
like, oh, like if me and all my friends like makeup, we're probably all watching like the same group
Chloe
of people.
Morello.
We're all watching that same like handful of beauty creators.
Right.
Whereas now we could all consume beauty content and be on entirely different segmented sections
Mhm.
of beauty content and have no idea who each other's favorites are and be like, oh,
Right.
I've never even heard of them and all I consume is beauty content.
Right. Which is something that's, I think, really cool about social media is it's never too late for anyone to get in the game. And I really do want to be like an advocate and a supporter of people to do that. You know, if you're thinking about it, do it. Like now is your shot. It's not too late. And I feel like we're going through a huge change right now. I don't know if you've been experiencing the same content as me, but I'm just seeing so much about this new era we're entering where talk to camera content is better and more meaningful, and people want longer videos, and we're getting away from like the quick little funny trends, and people want original. They want what they haven't seen before. But I feel like and then AI, the whole looming, what is AI going to do, and AI influencers. I think we're on the cusp of a change right now, and I want to make sure that I'm surfing the wave and not getting tumbled by it.
Totally. I think you and I have both kind of been known for being super vulnerable on the internet. Like, very honest. I would say both of us to certain groups of people have like big sister type of energy. And we're both known for like just being really transparent,
Hmm.
particularly around things like mental health, which can be very stigmatized topics. So I want to jump way back and like kind of talk about your journey to getting to that place of being that vulnerable big sister on the internet, because I know it's not an easy role to play and there has to be a catalyst that like pushes you into that position. So take us all the way back before Victoria was like an internet big sister. What was your life like?
Yeah, the catalyst and the moment for me that ended up changing my life and leading me here was struggling with my mental health as a college athlete. I fell into a major depressive episode. I had performance anxiety, and I also had an eating disorder. So it was like all three things happening at one time, and feeling really lost and lonely, and also just shocked and confused because I thought that this was going to be the best 4 years of my life, that if I'm playing on the number one team in the country, I shouldn't have issues, or I'm playing, like I'm out on the court and I'm a part of the team winning the game, that should be the most incredible feeling. But really, instead, my brain just was kind of short circuiting under all the pressure and the expectations. And that's where I experienced this really dark period in my life. And that's what like opened my eyes to, oh my gosh, if this could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. And why didn't anyone warn me? And I don't have the tools. And now I'm learning the tools, and I want everyone to have these tools. And so that inspired me to use my voice. And I ended up delivering a TEDx talk as a sophomore student athlete at USC. And that TEDx talk really changed my life because my story went on the internet and it was going to be there forever. And it was during a time, 2017, where we were not having conversations about athlete mental health issues and the athlete mental health crisis. So, um, to your point of like, there were only a handful of beauty creators during one point in time, I feel like there were only a handful of athletes talking about depression and anxiety and suicidal ideation and all that. So that was the catalyst to creating more content online and putting my story on the internet. And I think because I was probably one of the first to admit that I was struggling, that's how I probably formed this big sister energy. I remember finishing a volleyball game, and you go and you shake hands and you say good game, good game, good game, good game. And one girl was like, good game, good game, good game. I loved your TED talk. Good game, good game, good game. And it's like, here we were just competing against each other. I was scouting you, we're trying to beat your team, and then we have so much in common. And you probably watched that alone at night and like felt seen. And that made me feel so much purpose. And I mean, I'm sure you feel the same. There's nothing better than like helping people feel more confident in their own life and capable, and like they're not alone. And I'm so grateful that a lot of what I get to do and still talk about online is hopefully trying to bring joy to someone else's day, inspire them to live their best life, and know that it's okay to struggle.
To become a D1 level athlete, obviously you were an athlete your whole life. Like, you don't just wake up on the volleyball court at USC, right? So growing up, what did sports look like for you?
Yeah, I played as many sports as possible as a kid. I always joke with my husband. I'm like, I was 8th grade athlete of the year, baby. Like, I won that
Riding that
award.
high.
Yes, yes, I peaked in 8th grade. Um, I played all the sports. I loved soccer. I played basketball. Not a good shooter though. And volleyball. And yeah, I was in like middle school and we were playing just elementary school volleyball. And one of the moms was like, to my mom, your daughter's really good. She should try out for my daughter's club team. And my mom was like, sure, she loves the sport. Like, let's do that. And so I joined a club team that year. And my very first year of club, halfway through the season, I got pulled up to the better team because they were like, you're really good. And that was something that didn't happen either. You don't get pulled up from team to team in the middle of the year. So my first club season, I got pulled from a threes team to a twos team. It goes ones, twos, threes is like the order of the best team for your age group. So if I'm playing like 14s, you have the 14 ones team, which is the best girls, 14 twos, second best, 14 threes, the third best. And then if you don't make any teams, you don't make any teams and you are a different club. But I got pulled up to 14 twos. And then the next year I was like, well, I want to be on 15 ones. And I quickly jumped to 15 ones. And then I was just like addicted. I want to be the best. I want to play. Then in high school, my brother was a Division I golfer. He golfed at UCLA and I always just saw him and admired him. And I love sports so much. There was no world for me where I thought sports were going to end for me. I just loved them too much. And then went on college visits throughout my sophomore year of high school, touring schools, meeting coaches' teams. And then, it was just a part of my life from the beginning. And I remember getting the call that I was going to be, recruited walk-on for USC. And that was like my dream come true. And then I'm there and it's everything I've wanted. And then I'm struggling, right? So it's like crazy.
I can relate to your grade 8 best athlete. I still all the time reference that when I played competitive soccer as a child, I was voted most aggressive player on the team every year. And I held that with pride. Like I was like, yeah, the ball's mine and I'm going to score. I was very much like you. Like I grew up kind of trying every sport, just wanting to play sports. Like any field or court I could be on, I wanted to be there. And I don't know if you felt this, but for me, I was there competing with myself. When I was on team sports, if I was doing solo sport, it didn't matter. I wasn't trying to beat anybody but my own personal best. I was always trying to push myself to be better. And when you're constantly doing that to yourself, and it was completely self-inflicted. Like my parents were very much always like, chill, Molly. Stop. And I was like, more, more, more. And I just had that drive and that self-determination, but it was like a big pressure that I put on myself. What was it like for you? Like, were you also constantly battling your own self, or where was that voice coming from to be better and push harder?
I've been reflecting on that a lot in life because I still think I have that voice, right? And that standard for myself that has to be like the best I can possibly be, which is exhausting. I think that where I currently am with the answer now, and I think it changes as you learn things throughout life and you discover yourself even on a deeper level. But I think for me, I think I was a talented kid. I was fast, I was athletic, I was good at things, I was outgoing. And I think that was celebrated. And then somewhere along the way, I just got mixed up between I'm getting celebrated because I'm good at things and I'm getting celebrated just because people enjoy me, the person. So I think I just like subconsciously developed this identity that I'm the best and I win. And I kept that with me. And so much so that like when you're in a place where you don't feel like you're winning and you're not your best, it feels really fight or flight because it's like, but that's my identity. And then I think, when I am on, when I was on the USC volleyball team, 100% you're competing with other people and like they are statting you every single time you touch a ball throughout the entire week is recorded. So if you go in and you have a bad day, you're just like, fuck, that is tanking my average for like that goes on my record. You can't just have you can't have a bad day and come back the next day, but at the end of the day they're going to go by numbers. So they don't care who's the most funny, who's I don't know, gives it their all. I mean, they do. Like they do to some extent, but of course they vetted that and that's part of who you are on the team. But then when you get in the room, like, I mean, they don't care if you have 15 toes or think the earth is flat. Like if your numbers are the best, you're playing. So I had to make sure that my numbers were the best, and making sure my numbers were the best meant knowing other people's numbers and wanting to have better numbers than them. And granted, I'm in a place in life where I'm like, and I fucking did that. And I'm like, and I played every game for 4 years and like I held people off and I kept my spot and like I am proud of myself, but it was really intense.
Do you know what's so interesting to me is you're talking about like having to know all these numbers and always trying to beat yourself and get the highest numbers you can because you're being measured and judged on these numbers. And in many ways, that's the career we're in.
Yeah.
Like whether we want to or not, our numbers matter. Like people watching us matters. That's how we get paid, right? Like it doesn't matter if our content is more authentic and more genuine and more polished. The creator who gets more views gets more brand deals, makes more money, pays their bills, right? So it's interesting that you kind of went into a career that's so different from being an athlete, but very much, unfortunately, still measures you on meeting certain metrics.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point you bring up, and it's so true, the similarities in that. However, I will say, like, I don't, for whatever reason, probably to what we were talking about before we started recording, which is just like there's room for everyone at the table. I don't feel this like need to have the more followers than my friends or be the most viewed creator in this niche. Like I really don't feel that way. And I think the perfect testament to that is one of my childhood best friends, corporate Natalie, joined this industry like years after me and has just like far surpassed me, like numerically, business-wise. And like I'm genuinely like so happy for her. So whatever that competitive seed was I had on the court, I'm so glad it didn't come over because I don't know, it would just be impossible if you felt like you needed to be the top. I guess I'm just very rooted in like, as long as I feel good about my business and my community and like the content I'm making, then I feel good. I definitely don't want to be the one with the most followers. That also like, it's a little scary. I don't want to be that well known. I like that I'm introducing myself to people on the show who are listening and have never heard of me, and they're not all like, oh, we know her. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I ever want to be that well known.
Do you know what's so funny? When I was at like my peak viewership wise, I told like my team this is the max I want.
Yeah.
Because I was already at the point of like, if I would go to certain places, like say I went to Santa Monica, which is very touristy, like my friends and I just went to have a day together down there and they counted 40 people stopped me.
Yeah,
in the span of like
insane.
5 hours. And I was like, that's it. Like I can't go beyond that. Like that's too much for me. And so I often think about the idea of peaking, right? And we as a society will look at an actor or a creator, an athlete or whoever and be like, oh, they peaked. And we say it like it's a negative thing. But to be honest, in my experience, when like my bubble burst of like that crazy, insane viewership and following, and it went to like just a more sustained level, it was like a relief. It was like a relief of pressure that like I had this expectation like, oh, if I post something, it needs to get this. Now it's just like, it's a crapshoot. Does what it does. You know, like I'm just going to post what I care about and we'll see. And I just do what I believe in. I do what I love and it'll resonate with the people. And similarly, like when, like how you were like very early in the like athlete mental health space, being very early in the disability space, when more disabled creators started blowing up, I was like, thank God. Like, because I felt so much pressure for so long to like be the one that represented. And that alone is too much to bear. And like once more people started joining, I was like, oh, we're in this together. I have community now. Like all of us can collectively shoulder this. And I don't know if that's how you felt, but I certainly felt that way.
Yeah. It's such a great point. I think so. Like, and of course I want more athletes talking about their mental health and resources and their experiences. And also like just knowing that what makes everyone special is that they're them. And, like there can be so many people making videos and doing things, but the special sauce is like you and connecting to your audience. And so I think I feel like secure in that as well. And also, yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what it felt like for you to have 40 people. That's insane. Like if I'm having a hot day, I might get like 4 to 5 in a day, but that's like my max. So 40 people at like 3rd Street Promenade sounds very overwhelming.
It really was. And I don't miss it, if I'm honest. Like, I love meeting my followers. It's really lovely when people approach me and tell me like why they connect with my content and stuff, because I like getting to meet the human on the other side. And usually we have a lot in common. I don't know if you find that when you meet followers.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I have a lot in common with them, and that's the reason they connected with my content, is because they connected with me. And so I actually end up connecting back really easily, which is such an awesome feeling. And I think now when people approach me, it is like a genuine, I know you, I know your content, XYZ is why I found you and relate. Whereas back then, I think because it was just like such a peak hype time for that like influencer culture, and I was collaborating with all the like it kids on social media and all of that kind of thing, I was like in this weird vortex where people didn't even necessarily know who I was, but they knew I was somebody. So they would like want a picture with me because they just knew I was somebody.
Right.
And so it like almost dogpile, like one person would find me and then people would just come over because, oh, she must be somebody.
And we're in LA. Let's get a picture.
We're in LA. Let's get a picture. It was like a very strange thing. And I also think back then, a lot of my followers, I was in my early mid-20s. They were in their late teens, early 20s. Whereas now my followers are like late 20s, 30s. So they're much more mature in the way that they approach, if that makes sense. Like now it's more like chill. Like they're not like, oh, like sign this thing, let me get a picture, and like run away to their friends squealing.
Right.
It's more like they actually want to like genuinely connect and like have a little hug and like,
oh, I love that.
Yeah, which feels really special. But I want to go back to something you mentioned around kind of like developing this feeling of being the person who wins, being at the top of your game and kind of feeling like you had to stay in that zone. Because I'll be honest, I still to this day struggle with feeling like my self-worth is rooted in how productive I am. My self-worth is rooted in what I accomplish and what I do. And it's very hard for me to feel enough or feel satisfied with myself at the end of the day if I just like veg out on the couch. And I know that's unhealthy. And I know that I need to allow myself to have days to veg on the couch to regroup and refuel and be able to get back up the next day and be my best self in my life, in my job, in my relationships. But when you've developed that feeling for so long, and that's the way you've measured yourself, and that's the way you feel society measures you, it's really hard to break that. So have you been able to break that feeling in your life? And if so, what helped you get there?
Honestly, I'm pleased and proud of myself to say that I think that I really have. I certainly relate to what you just described. Also, my husband is very much like in that I'm always trying to get him to lay down and put a blanket on him and like have him relax. Like that's my favorite when he's doing nothing, because he like rarely does nothing. But I realized it was just there were a few things keeping me in it. I think first you have to realize what's keeping you stuck in that. And for me, there were two things that were immediately evident. The first was I was keeping myself stuck in that. No matter how many people I would tell, I don't want to do interviews this month. I don't want to do this month. Let's clear my schedule. I tell my team this, tell them that. Guess who was filling it back up? Me. Guess who was not taking the off day? Me. So I was the biggest person keeping me stuck in that. And then I have to explore why. Why am I doing that? And I realized I had a deep-seated judgment for like laziness or lack of productivity or, being raised as an athlete in the mindset of if you're not getting better, you're getting worse, and the best don't rest, and those types of things. So I would judge myself. Or if I heard a friend, I remember one time I got lunch with a friend years ago, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to Europe this summer. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. What are you doing? She's like, just going to travel. And I'm thinking like, wait, what? Like, you're not working, you're not building your brand, you're not expanding, like, you're not doing all these things. Like, oh my God, I would be embarrassed to tell someone like I wasn't, you know what I mean? I really was like judging the hell out of that. And so, of course, I would judge the hell out of me if I gave myself the break. So I had to just do a lot of work on that. I mean, I've been in therapy for many years and I love my therapist. And then
Send the recommendation my way.
I will. And then slowly started doing the work to slow down and protect myself, and a lot of trial and error, right? Like, you can say, I want to slow down, I want to slow down. But it's not until that like 13th time you're burnt out, sobbing, like, okay, wow, next time I really have to make sure I'm not accepting 4 travel trips in a month. Like, that is, to me, like, I'm going to set a limit with that, or I'm not going to do more than 2 podcast interviews in a day. And even though the guest is really great and they finally said yes, like, no, I can't sacrifice my boundaries, because then I get burnt out. I don't create the content. I spiral. I lose 2 weeks, you know? So I think I just also had a lot of making the mistakes to realize like something has to change. And then now I think once I've realized like I can enjoy the process of the work and be present with the work that I'm doing and not do it just because I feel like I have to. And then the last thing I'd say is like, for a lot of people who keep busy, they are avoiding what would come up in the silence. And so it's like, what are we so afraid of in the silence that's going to come up? And then a reminder that you actually can handle whatever it is that might come up. You are strong enough. And I mean, you can just keep, not you as in you, Molly, but to people listening who relate, anyone can keep running from it, but eventually you're going to have to deal with it. It's going to come out in some way. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, that's just a lot of how I approached it.
You've been very open about struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety, and struggling with a binge eating disorder. Now, growing up an athlete myself, I always had an athletic build. That's my natural body. I'm just an athletic body type. I put on more muscle and I carry more muscle naturally. And we're relatively similar age. I think I'm a few years older than you. And certainly at the time that I was growing up, like very skinny with big fake boobs. Like that was the Hollywood beauty standard. And I've always had a small chest, pear shape, like curvy, thick legs, butt, hips, thighs, and then muscle. And so I never felt like my natural body fit the standard, but it allowed me to be like a strong athlete. It's why I was naturally gifted at any sport I turned my hand to. What role did growing up being an athlete at such a high level play in your binge eating disorder?
I feel like I think something that comes to mind first is just these 2 types of body types. The one being this athlete mold where you're muscular and you're strong and you're bigger. And then the other being this like idyllic, Victoria's Secret models at the time were big. America's Next Top Model was big, just really thin, dainty like girl. And so I just felt like I was constantly kind of walking the line between the two. And then when I was playing in college, you're eating more, you're training more, you're lifting heavier, and my body got bigger. And I really did not like that change because it was taking me farther away from what I thought I was supposed to look like. And so that was really tough. And I mean, I had so many nights like hating my body, just wanting to lose weight, trying every diet, counting every calorie, that it just like consumed me. And it's so sad to think about those times because my life is so full now and it's so not my priority. And I've really done a lot of healing with my body and with food. And that's why I'm so passionate about talking about it, is because I want other women especially to have that unlock and to know that there's so much more to life than what you can't eat for lunch today. And I want them to feel that freeness that I feel. But yeah, growing up as an athlete, I think I was just always resisting the body type that I naturally would be having because I played sports.
As I've said, we're both very open about our own different unique journeys with mental health. I feel like this is becoming a therapy session for you're my therapist today, Victoria. Do you feel pressure to in any way perform wellness for people? Because you seem like you're in such a healthy place with your anxiety and your depression and your binge eating. You seem like you're in such like a whole content, happy place. But I know, at least for me, like mental wellness, my lord,
Mental wellness. I love that.
mental
though.
wellness, honestly, trademark that. Mental wellness is like a journey. It's never linear. There's a lot of ups and downs and like peaks and valleys. And sometimes my mental health is super stable. And then what feels like out of nowhere, it just like all hits me again. And sometimes I feel this pressure that I need to maintain the wellness for other people externally and not let them know that, hey, we've had a dip again, because I'm the person they go to on the internet for inspiration that they'll get through their struggles. So if I'm there being like, just kidding, you thought I was good, but I'm not, it'll like steal that hope from them that I once gave them.
I completely understand what you're describing. And as your pseudo-therapist, I want to validate that because that makes so much sense. You know, the pressure of people saying, well, you're so happy, it makes me happy, and you overcame this, Molly, so I can overcome this. And then if you one day say, you know what, I'm having a really hard time today, like not being able to see that might be something that someone who's looked to you for hope, like, you know, that I totally understand that pressure that we can put on ourselves as someone who's paving the way for someone else. I mean, to answer your question, no, I honestly don't feel like I've had to perform wellness. If anything, I feel like my connection with my audience is like, hey, I'm going through it too, so it's okay that you're going through it. I never feel the pressure from them that like I have to always have it all together. I have to be happy all the time. Um, I I struggled 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I started to kind of get all these like toxic thoughts about calorie counting and like my body and like wanting to lose weight. And I took time to work on that in my own life. And then like a month later, I talked about it on my podcast because like I wanted them to know, hey, I have this struggle too. And I think that's the point though, is like if they look at us like we're perfect and we never have our struggles, then they're going to feel bad because they are having a bad body image day or they are struggling with whatever it is they're dealing with. So I feel like at least the feedback I've seen is that it makes probably them feel more human to see even their like superhero, unbreakable Molly Burke have a bad day too. Then like they feel like it's okay that they have a bad day. So, yeah, I think that's how it nets out for me. And I am in a knock on wood, you know, it's always like ups and downs, but I feel like I'm in a really centered place right now. And that's just right now. But, you know, I can think of times that feel recent enough where I wasn't. And I mean, this past, gosh, I feel like I was in a really funk and just like upset and couldn't shake something after the new year for a while, you know? So, and now I feel like that's clicked in, but it's always going to click out. To your thing, it's linear. And one of my favorite quotes from Eckhart Tolle is life will never leave you alone. You're never going to have enough journaling, enough sessions, enough inspirational quotes, an organized enough kitchen, an aesthetic outfit. You're never going to have it all set so that like the next mole in your whack-a-mole doesn't pop out. Like it's going to. What we get better at, though, is how we weather the storm, how prepared we are for the next time, how confident we feel about the tools that we call on. You know, my therapist just went on maternity leave, so we did a whole paper of like my coping skills. And like last week I was crying and having this meltdown about something, and I like went to my list. What are my coping skills? I'm ruminating. I'm taking this from A to Z, and we're literally just at A, and B through Z might never happen, you know? So now I'm also just better at like working through the thing, identifying the thing, and utilizing the reps I've put in. Like an athlete, I put the reps in. I'm not just showing up on game day and hoping I win. When game day, which is probably, let's say, a negative mental health experience arises, I feel like I've been watching the film and I've been preparing and I can handle it better. I might not win the game that day, but I at least don't feel like I was completely blindsided and I was woken up at 6 a.m. to play, you know?
We both kind of grew up watching the same influencers that were like in that lifestyle era of sharing perfection, of truly sharing that highlight reel. And when I went into social media, I wanted to be the reverse of that. I wanted to show the highlight, but also the low light. So the amount of videos of me crying on the internet is embarrassing at this point. Like, it's so many. But I've always felt like, as hard as it is for me to open up when I falter with my mental health, like you, I do believe it's what makes us human and what humanizes mental health, and like what the real struggle looks like is that there is the ups and there is the downs. So therefore, if you're following me and you think eventually you're going to get to just the ups, nay nay, my friend, I'm still here crying about being blind, even though I thought I was fine with it. So I do think it's really important. But the reverse of the previous question is, do you find that when you make content about how hard life is or something negative that's happening, that it performs better? People like your trauma more than they like your joy?
Ooh, that's really fascinating. And no, I don't feel that way. Obviously, I know if I post like I'm going through something tough and this is what's on my heart, like, yeah, it's people will connect to that because they connect to the vulnerability of it. But I've never felt like I need to be unhappy in my own life to keep like my content thriving, which I'm thankful I haven't felt that way. If anything, I feel guilt. Even if I talk about something I'm struggling with online, I feel guilty because I know how privileged I am. So for me to even be crying and upset about something that to me does feel valid and real, but I have this stable career in a really tough job market right now and I can afford to put a roof over my like I feel guilt. So if anything, like I think I almost shy away more from the vulnerable, sad content these days because I feel like I don't want it to be tone deaf.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have to tell myself, like, I'm a human being who's still allowed to have ups and downs, and my downs are things that connect me to my audience, and I can still post those. But that's more so where my head goes these days, is not sounding like completely tone deaf because I obviously have so much privilege.
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next question is, as people who have had a long life of experience with mental health issues, I also feel that, like, when I come forward now with, hey guys, I'm not doing well, there's maybe going to be a judgment there of like, well, you have less reasons to be doing poorly than I do. So your pain is less valid than mine. And it's a weird feeling of um like, I don't know, like sometimes it feels like people want to play the oppression Olympics, where it's like, I have more hardship than you, so I win,
Mm.
and your pain is invalid. And to me, I've always viewed it as like pain is relative. So I would always hate it way back before I even came to social media when I would say, do a speech, and somebody would come up to me afterwards and be like, I've been going through a divorce and I've been really struggling with depression about it. But now that I know how hard your life's been, I have nothing to complain about. And I would always say, absolutely, like, that is not the takeaway from this. Everybody's pain is relative. If if I've gone blind and if I ever got divorced, I would be devastated by that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if your breakup is the worst pain you've ever felt, it is equal to the worst pain I've ever felt, which happens to be from going blind. Like, just because objectively the thing that's causing the pain seems more legitimate or seems bigger, doesn't mean your pain is less.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. It's like, I think you described it perfectly. And also, like, if someone came up to me crying and was like, I feel so disconnected from my sister and we got in this huge fight and I'm worried we're never going to talk again, I wouldn't be like, well, you're holding a nice purse, so next. Like, I wouldn't. They're a human being and I would meet them there and like material things. And, I totally, there's the hierarchy of needs and it's super important that we have shelter warmth and we have food. And then like I really do believe on all the studies that have said, at a certain point, whether you have $100 million or a million or 100,000 or 50,000, like once you have your hierarchy of needs, like the extra money like doesn't take away like your pain and your experience. But so I just think I try to hold space and allow everyone to have their struggle, and I would never question it. So then why am I gaslighting myself? And then, of course, I think we have a responsibility as people on the internet to always be like aware of our privilege and aware of how things sound and aware of the state of the world. And I try to be really cautious of that. I don't think I would never like get on the internet and cry because like someone dented my nice car. Like, you know what I mean? But it is finding the fine line of like, oh, I'm really upset about this thing. And yes, I'm in this beautiful place, but yeah, this is I don't, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I try to be mindful about it, and sensitive to everyone, but also no matter what you have in life, we're all going to struggle and we're all suffering. That's the definition of being a human.
One thing about your story that I feel like really resonates with me is this idea that externally everything looks like you're crushing it, and internally you're being crushed.
Mm.
I've had that experience a lot in my life. When I was early in my career, again, before social media, I was touring the world on stages, speaking to 20,000 people at a time with a full-time assistant at like 18 years old. And objectively, like, that's crazy. My dreams are coming true. I'm networking with A-list celebrities and like world famous activists, and my life looked really shiny because I'm in magazines and on TV, being interviewed on the news. But inside, the reality of what I was dealing with was so different. I was burnt out. I felt like I had no autonomy, no freedom. I felt trapped, like I was a hamster on a wheel, and nobody was seeing that side of it. And thinking about you, like being this D1 level athlete who's on the court at every game for 4 years, but you're struggling with anxiety and depression and binge eating, and there's these like two lives you're essentially living in tandem. What did that feel like, and how did you get honest and break free of that?
Hmm. So funny. I remember like one night crying to my mom on the phone or something about how like anxious I was before the game and how miserable the game felt for me and how just like a mess I am. And she's like, wait, but you look so cute out there and you had a bow in your hair. I always used to tie these yellow bows in my hair. And I was like, yeah. And like cameras are on and we're playing and like I'm not gonna not smile when we're like high-fiving in the huddle. So I definitely relate to how you just described this like looking like I love this saying, crushing it on the outside, but feeling crushed on the inside. I mean, the first time I felt like I really Oh, I guess to answer your question directly, how did it feel during that moment? I mean, it felt really isolating. I felt super alone. And I was guilty of having a perfect Instagram that I face-tuned my body to look better in my bikini photo. And I posted pictures with my friends who weren't even really my friends. And it looked like I was living this ideal life, and I wasn't. And so when I was doing that, I felt so alone. I felt so isolated. I felt like I could just like sink into myself or disappear, and like everyone around me was like floating and they couldn't even see me. So it was really isolating to do that. And then when I did finally kind of merge the lives, I guess, and deliver my TEDx talk, which is where I said, this is exactly how I'm feeling. This is all that I've been struggling with. And it's for the world to see. That was really scary. I remember my mom, being a mom and just wanting to protect me and saying like, are you sure you want to do this? It's going to live on the internet forever. I got the classic, your future employers will see this. Little did she know I would be my future employer. Um,
And you would have a job because of that.
Yes, literally. But I don't blame her for saying that. My mom and my parents are super supportive of like the work that I do. And when I was said, yes, I'm doing this, they were 100% on board. But, that's why you have, hopefully, people in your life who say, and just think of the bigger picture here for 1 second. Um, and once I did that, I just never looked back. Like, because when you wear your heart on your sleeve, I just never want to put it away. There's like no better way to live than just to be yourself. it eats at me to think that we have this one beautiful life and there are people out there who are not living their truth. Like, they're not loving who they want to love. They're not being who they want to be. They're not saying what they want to say. They're not chasing the dream they want to chase. Like, we have this one life. The fact that we even exist is so insanely rare, that the right chemicals and the right timing and the right day, and then we like created us and we're here now. It's like, it's truly magical. And so I think I just became obsessed with being insanely candid. And I just don't know how to go back from that. And I don't want to. And I want that for others. I want them to be able to open up to their loved ones. I want them to have that deep conversation with their best friend. I want them to book the therapy appointment if they can, and something that they think is going to help them, and not be afraid of that. I want them to take the video and post it and give it a shot. And so I think about the version of me who was pretending I wasn't being crushed inside. And I think of the version of me now who gets to live in fluidity to how I'm feeling on the outside. And I move through the tough feelings faster because people see it and I lean on my community and I don't have to do it alone.
I love that so much. And I completely agree that like once you get honest and vulnerable and real with people, there's no going back to small talk.
Mm-mm.
Because it's so liberating to actually just answer the question of how are you in a real way, like, and be honest with people about it, instead of all of us like playing this stupid game where we're like, how are you? I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm good. Like, it's why are we even asking if we don't care to
Mm-hmm.
get the honest answer? And why are we responding with maybe a truth, but maybe a lie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are we even playing that game? So
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. After your kind of coming out moment where you say to the world, I am not okay, how did the healing journey begin?
I had been in therapy prior to kind of sharing my story with the world. So that was good because I felt like I'd begun my healing journey through that. And it brought me a lot of confidence to share my story because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm learning tools to cope with my anxiety and I'm understanding why I became depressed, and I'm on antidepressants now and there are answers, and I want to prevent people from falling into this path the way that I did. So that's how the healing started. And then I feel like it's been a constant journey ever since. I am the type of person where, almost to a fault, like almost I think I need to, one of my mottos for the next few months is like, stop working on yourself, stop focusing on personal growth, stop trying to know yourself deeper, because it's been what I've been doing for the past 9 years. But I was going to therapy consistently, and I was grateful to have that resource for free as a student athlete. I know that that's not something everyone gets to access. I'm grateful that I was able to take advantage of it. One antidepressants, I started looking at my own life and my own things and habits that were contributing to my negative experiences. So, for example, we focused in on body image and my eating disorder. I stopped getting in photos with my friends for a while because I was like, that triggers me and I don't like the way my body look, and I compare myself to them and it creates this whole spiral. And let me just avoid that at all costs right now because I need to first build up my own confidence with my body. I stopped following all these toxic accounts that were like perfect bodies, bathing suit accounts. And I took a break from social media. I vowed not to post anything that was edited with a filter or with a Photoshop. I took that vow to myself before I even had an audience. And then it ended up being one of the most enticing things when people found my page, is I promised I would never edit anything. So those are like 3 small ways I was like, how can I set my life up so I can succeed? I got rid of my full body mirror. Let's stop body checking every morning before we go out for the day, because that's just creating a negative spiral. I learned about intuitive eating, which was hugely helpful for my relationship with food, and began to practice that and stop dieting and fight back against diet culture. And I remember following Jamila Jamil at the time was super empowering. She was such an anti-diet warrior, and I learned so much from her at the time. So, that there's a handful of ways right there that I was like, how can I set myself up for success? How can I break these toxic patterns? And I kind of did that with all the areas of my life. I definitely still struggle with performance anxiety throughout my time as a student athlete, even though I did all this my sophomore year. Hell yeah, I had anxiety my senior year. And I had moments where I felt depressed my junior year. it doesn't all go away, even if you read the right book and you do the right journal prompt, but it's a process. And I feel grateful to say that I've never felt as low as I felt from my lowest point in school. I've had low moments, but I've been on a steady climb. And I think for people, like, we need to think about the healing journey as an upward spiral. You're moving upward, but there are going to be times that ball spirals down, but then that momentum carries you up higher the next time, up higher the next time. And so, if you're on a downward curve, it sucks, it's shitty, but like you're curving up. And that's kind of been my experience.
I'm going to use that mental spiral up now. I love that. I've never heard anybody think about the healing of mental health that way. And I feel like having that visual, that really visceral concept is a really helpful way to look at it. I feel like, I don't know if you resonate with this, but having such a long history with my mental health, I recognize the warning signs that I'm struggling earlier and earlier, which means I'm able to activate on the things that help me rebuild and heal faster. And I'm able to like tap back into this like toolbox that I've built over so many years, and I'm able to open it up, be like, which things do I need to grab for where I'm at right now? Is that something that you relate to?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention it. Yes, like I know the signs. I could look at my calendar and predict how I'm going to feel in 3 weeks based on what my calendar looks like. So definitely, I know the signs, and I'm also able to be preventative and protect myself in the future so that I know I won't be feeling burnt out come the end of April. And I know I'm going to carve in an off day. A lot of times with our job, we are working on the weekends. And I used to just be like, well, that's life. That's my life. Nope. I'm taking a Tuesday off. I'm taking a Monday off. Like, and I'm taking that like my Saturday, just like everyone else. So, this is a weekend coming up where I'll be working. I'll be with a brand. I'm super excited about it. It's amazing. It's the dream job. And I'm working all weekend. So next week, I will make sure I have a day where then I get my weekend day back.
I'm gonna need you to send me your like cheat sheet of your boundaries, and I'm gonna take your cheat sheet on your boundaries, and I'm gonna take your cheat sheet from your therapist on your coping strategies, so I can cheat off of your worksheets.
You are killing it though. Like what you've built and what you've created is absolutely unreal. Like I think even starting there, like celebrating, we're sitting in front of 1 million subscribers YouTube plaque. That's insane. Like the grind that takes, the creativity, the showing up, the consistency. Like I think you have crushed it. So I think just starting there, hopefully, do you feel like you pat yourself on the back enough?
It's always like, okay, cool, check the box, on to the next. I struggle to celebrate myself.
Celebrate yourself.
To me, it feels like what I'm doing isn't about me. Like the work that I'm doing isn't about patting myself on the back. The work that I'm doing is about uplifting a community, And so it's like, I don't want to celebrate me. Like I want to be like, okay, cool, thank you. Next thing that I need to accomplish. And we were talking about that like before we officially sat down to chat, is you mentioned the 1 million subscriber plaque, and you're like, wow, that's so cool. I've never seen one of those. And I said to you, I didn't want to put it on the set. Like my fiance and my mom were like, no, we have to put it on the set. It's so cool. It like gives you credibility, and people who don't know you but find the podcast like will like be intrigued by that. And like, why don't we celebrate ourselves? Why is it so hard, I think, particularly as women, to give ourselves that moment to pat ourselves on the back and be like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, you said you were a former athlete. We've been taught like you can't slack off. Like you got to be ready for the next thing. But if I don't stop and just be proud of myself or feel it at all, I found that it's been just way healthier for me to stop and slow down. And I'm not insufferable. Like I would never call my friends and be like, guess what brand deal I just did? Never. But maybe with like my husband, I'm like, ooh, can we order in our favorite food tonight? Or like, let's walk and grab a slice of pizza, or let's take a moment for me to just be like, I'm really excited. I'd always manifested this partnership and I'm doing it. And he's like, fuck yeah, babe. And I'm like, high five. At least just like that 30 seconds makes me feel like, okay, I didn't just click the email and like move forward. And it's made me nicer to myself. It's made me kinder to myself. I agree. I'm not like, I don't sit there like I'm the best person. I'm the smartest person. But I'm like, this took time, hard work, confidence, and putting myself out there. And like, I'm proud of myself for the act of doing that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm definitely willing to like briefly have a moment with like my loved ones where I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And then I'm kind of like, but
Yeah.
what's next?
Yeah.
And it's definitely like a journey to learn just to like be proud of yourself. As weird as that sounds, like as two people who have struggled with kind of like having this bar set for ourselves very high, it's very hard to celebrate if you feel like you fell anywhere short of that bar.
Yeah.
Even if like objectively getting to this level is still amazing, it's not this level. So
Yeah.
in your brain, it's like, well, it's not good enough because it wasn't the higher bar.
Yeah.
It's
I,
a weird mental gymnastics.
no, it is. It is. And, having high expectations for yourself is a beautiful thing. I think that's what's put us into this career and honestly allowed us to be successful is we have a high bar for ourselves and we have a high standard. But so it's like there's beauty in it. It's a positive, like at least we wake up and we say, I can do more. I can do more. And we don't wake up and think, oh, like no one wants to hear from me. So it's like a positive trait, but then it has its negatives when it's like never relaxing, never resting. And
Yes.
I completely relate to it. It makes sense. And I guess for me, I had to make some changes because I was just, I don't know, I was craving it. I found myself, like you said when you were going on your speaking tour, I found myself like unhappy doing the things that actually make me happy.
Yes.
And so I was like, I can't just keep pushing through this. I need to make changes so that I feel joy from this again.
When you hate doing the things you love, that's the biggest red flag.
That is like me, I'm depressed,
Yeah, that for me, it's interesting because I've struggled with a lot of different diagnoses over the years and different seasons of my life. I've had situational depression.
Yeah.
I have PMDD, PTSD, generalized anxiety. Let's just name them all. Like with OCD tendencies. I know how all of those things feel distinctly different in my brain and in my body. They all manifest so uniquely in how I feel, in how I express myself. I've thankfully never struggled with an eating disorder. What did that feel like in your body and in your brain?
Um, I mean, it was all consuming. Boom, for my binge eating disorder. It was all consuming and I was all consuming. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was insane. It was all I could think about. I was absolutely obsessed with like losing weight, counting calories, weighing myself, what I could and couldn't eat, what diet I was on, how much, my measurements, my body inspo I had cut out on my pantry, on my phone background. Like, I mean, yeah, it was miserable. And I think in the throes of the binge eating, it was like, I mean, if anyone really wants my whole story, I have a YouTube video that's my eating disorder story. Throwback to when you said when people can find something and connect with you. I'm like, it's so hard for me to regurgitate it now. I do feel like it's been so long, but I'm glad that that piece of content exists so that someone can connect with me like in that moment. But yeah, it was miserable, and I I just was at a war with food and my body. But like we need a relationship with ourselves and a relationship with food to survive. Like we have to eat every day to survive. And so when that relationship is not healthy, of course you're gonna feel and think about it all the time. And so yeah, as far as how it felt, it was the worst. And I'm just so grateful to be in such a healthy place now to the point where like it's 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 not as easy for me to remember the dark times as it is to think about the good times. And like, if you would have told me that when I was 18, like, hey, there's going to be a future where like you won't remember the last time you went on a diet, I'd be like, what? I'm on a diet right now as you're telling me this. So what do you mean I'm not going to remember it? Or you're going to get gifted cookies from a friend and you're going to have the two that look really yummy to you and then you're going to forget they're in your pantry and they're going to go stale. What? I'm going to forget I have cookies in my pantry? There's no way. I'm going to eat all the cookies or I'm going to throw them away and pour vinegar on them because I'm not allowed to eat them, So I say that because it's like if you're in it right now and you don't think you can be out of it, you can, because I'm sitting here looking back at myself like shocked that I healed to this point,
I love that, and I'm sure there are so many people listening to this who can connect with that feeling and like want to know that one day they won't be obsessing over what they do or do not eat.
Yeah.
And I feel that on like feeling so disconnected from the version of yourself that was in that pain or in that spiral. When I sat down to write my memoir, Unseen, it was weird having to like go back into the crevices of my brain and tap into the girl who felt that thing or believed that thing, because I'm so far from her.
Mm.
And when I talk about versions of myself, there's certain versions where it feels like I'm telling a fictional story. Like I'm telling somebody else's story because I've said it so many times that I myself am so disconnected from it. I'm no longer
Yeah,
her.
I relate to that in the sense of like just the public speaking about like our trauma feeling performative. And I think that's why I stopped public speaking as much, because I used to tour all around the country. I was on flights all the time speaking. And then I was just like, this is not feeling right anymore, because I feel like I'm happy right now, but I'm throwing myself into a place of remembering how I felt at my worst. And then I'm saying it to you all. And then someone's giving me a check and they're going to judge on if I did a good job or not. A good job at what? Telling you guys about my like darkest moments, you know what I mean? And then now it was really meaningful. And I just did a moderated Q&A and I spoke at LMU, and it was really great. And I remember telling myself, like, whatever I decide to say today, I decide to say. Like, I don't have to go back to my top 10 stories or my top 10 ways to say things. Like, I just want to be really present with these girls tonight. And when the question gets asked to me, I'm going to answer it the way I would answer it now as a 28-year-old with all that I know. And it just felt so much better.
I totally relate to that. I feel like when I was in this space of constantly speaking, like I would do like up to 10 speeches a week. And when you're regurgitating the most painful moments of your life that often, it's really hard to separate the healed version from the hurt version
Yeah.
of who you are, and not to like slip back into being the hurt version again,
Yeah.
even though you did all the work to heal.
Yeah, and you kind of have to be the hurt version to be able to say it correctly and to describe how you felt about something, you know? So, 100%.
Yeah, you really have to like sit with it, right?
Yeah.
Like to write about it, whether it's writing it for a speech that you're going to present or writing it for a book that people will read, you need to sit with those feelings and have them resurface to be able to share it authentically again. But that's not always like, to help other people is wonderful, but if it hurts you in the process, then it's not very helpful after all.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. And I had to know I had like more to share. And I still like do really love to talk about that stuff and being candid about it. And I'm grateful that like even with my nonprofit, The Hidden Opponent, there's current student athletes who are sharing their stories, and like the torch has been passed, and they are the advocates and they're the leaders of today's student athletes, and like that brings me so much joy.
Tell me more about your nonprofit, because you just like so subtly slipped it in there. That's like pretty iconic to have your own nonprofit.
That's very kind of you. One of those things where when I was doing the public speaking and I was meeting so many student athletes who had similar stories, I was just like, we need a community where we can all come together for this same cause. I had never thought I would ever start a charity. I honestly didn't even process at the time what it meant to start a charity. I just knew it wasn't like a for-profit thing. So doing a nonprofit felt the most like aligned. And then in uniting those athletes, that became our Campus Captains program, which is our cornerstone program today, where we're really empowering today's student athletes with the leadership capabilities to be the change on their campus so that they can be trained in peer-to-peer support. They can ensure that the resources available in their communities are known by their communities, and that they feel ready to either tackle a mental health challenge that comes up for them or for someone that they love. And it's been super rewarding, and there's an incredible team there. It is definitely not just me. Like, we have amazing human beings. The most amazing people in the world like work for charities. It's insane how giving these people are, how loving they are, how dedicated they are to the causes that are super close to them and their experiences. So it's been amazing. And if there's any student athletes listening who have a story to share, a community they want to be a part of, you can find The Hidden Opponent on Instagram.
It's incredible that you've been able to take your vulnerability and empower others to do the same, to kind of create this whole movement. But being vulnerable isn't always easy, especially as we've said, like the line of life and work is so blurry when you do what we do. How have you gone about intentionally setting boundaries? Because it's something that for me, I didn't do for a very long time. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I started realizing I needed to create some forms of separation for myself, for my own sanity. So how did you go about creating those boundaries, and what does that look like to you?
Boundaries with my audience, or boundaries with me and the topics?
With everything.
Everything.
Boundaries,
Yes,
period.
yes.
Because I had none. I had zero boundaries in my life, in my work, and
Yeah.
anywhere. I was just like, I'm a free-for-all. I am yours.
I've become a boundaries queen. I'm like obsessed with boundaries. But I think boundaries get a bad rap. And I think we also have to be cognizant of like, it is important to show up for people. You're going to do some things you don't want to do. Like, I love the recent thing that's like, in order to have a village, you got to be a villager. Like, I don't think we should be like boundary. And then like, if you don't fit exactly in the puzzle piece of my life, then like, you're not welcome here. Like, that's not okay. We have to be flexible. And like, part of having meaningful relationships is morphing yourself sometimes so that it works with other people. But as far as my career, I think in the beginning I wanted to respond to every single DM. I wanted to write back every single email. Like I felt so bad if someone would message me and tell me their story and I couldn't be the one personally reading it and responding. I think over time you realize, like, I think one of the biggest flips for me was like, if I answered every single message, I could not create the content that creates the impact that then inspires the message to get sent. So I have to keep putting my time into creating the content that creates the impact, because that's the most important thing. Because if I spend time responding to every single message, I'm not going to be able to do the work that is helping people. So I still love being in my DMs. I message with my audience all the time. I know the name of the person who bought my first t-shirt I ever put on merch like 6 years ago. Like I really care, and my most engaged audience, I follow them back. I know about their lives. Like I'm very Taylor Swift in that way. I like that stuff. If I can be any semblance near Queen icon Taylor, I think she's like the best with her audience. And so I really want to make sure my community feels like seen by me. But, I've had to realize, like, I don't have to beat myself up if I have unanswered messages. And at some point, you just keep growing and it becomes literally impossible. And then you get the excuse of realizing it's actually impossible. So then you feel better. But that's been a thought, I guess, on that. And then as far as boundaries with the content and with the topics, I don't do as many public speaking engagements. I only do them if I feel like they really are going to make sense, or they're local, or there are THO campus captains at the school. And then I allow myself to make content that's fun and not always super deep and inspiring. And if I want to do a home goods run and show you what I bought, or if I want to declutter my closet and I want to take you with me, like, I allow myself to do that. I used to tell myself, like, you can't do that. Everything needs to be a heavy hitter, like really inspiring, change your life post. And then I was like, the fact that I'm requiring that of myself every day is like not possible. So I'm allowed to do some fun content and have some fun with people, and for them to see, hey, I used to struggle with an eating disorder and it was all consuming. And now I am reorganizing my closet and I have a great relationship with my clothes and the size I wear. And like that could be a cool, really like light thread between the two things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Allowing yourself to have like the full expression of yourself on the internet.
Yeah.
And whatever feels authentic in that day, in that moment. How do you navigate like sharing like personal life? Like, you're married and your best friend is also a creator. And like, what's the line of like sharing, like when you hang out with your friend who's also a creator, what's the boundary of like, are we hanging as friends, or are we also creating content? Or with your husband, like, what's the moment of like, we're sharing this, but we're not sharing that?
Yeah.
How do you sort through that?
Sorry. I laugh because my best friend Aubrey and I are like literally the worst best friends who are creators, who could be capitalizing on so much and don't, because we just spent a weekend together and we'll literally be like saying goodbye and be like, oh fuck, we forgot to film a video. Like, we literally, it's so not the thought for us, because we have 20 years of friendship where we were not doing this. Like, it's just not going to become the thing that we're like using each other for. So we will literally have ideas and be like, okay, we just got to do them. We got to do them right now. Let's quickly each film our video. So I think, with that, it's been pretty natural the way that we keep our friendship the priority and the content coming like not even second, but coming like fifth, it feels like. And then I think with my husband, Max, that my relationship with Max is like the most important relationship to me in my life. I literally love him more than anything in this world. And I would never, ever want to make that be for me and our relationship, the way it works, I would never want our marriage to be business. And so, that's why I would not do a podcast with my husband, or that's why, he's in my content enough to where we feel comfortable and we have fun, but he does his football thing, I do my thing. So like, I know myself, and to your point about the winning and being the best, I definitely am like, how can every single moment become the best form of content? And I've been really trying to train my brain out of that, because I don't want to be having a beautiful moment with my husband and be like, let me stop, go set up a tripod, come back, and then pretend we're having this moment. I never want to do that. I will literally vomit at myself if I'm doing that. It's just not me. So I have had to strike the balance of like, what feels most authentic for us, what allows us to be authentic in the moment, and then can it also be content? But I would say like, barely 10% of our relationship is on the internet, in the scheme of like our actual life connection.
I love that. It's so hard to figure out like where to draw lines in the sand, and it's so nice to have those people where they don't make you question that line. You're like, we're staying on this side. It's easy.
Definitely. And I have empathy. I know I've heard like, and you see it in the videos of just like a lot of people who were just like content friends, or you thought you were real friends, but it was only for the content. I haven't really had that experience because I don't know. I feel like I'm not in the like content circle. I feel grateful to have like met a lot of people and know a lot of people in the industry just from my podcast or from their podcast or other things. But I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, but I've never been in the art of like, let's collab. I would love to. I think it's so fun. I make videos by myself all the time. I'd love to make videos with people. But do you feel like it's kind of a dying art? Like, are there
Oh, yeah. Collabs like don't exist anymore. It's like not really a thing.
Yeah.
And like I came from the collab era, right? Like when that was what everybody did. And I did a ton of them. And it was like this weird situation. I talk about it in my memoir where like the public would assume because I collabed with somebody, we were friends. I might not even have their phone number.
Yeah.
Like, I would like probably exclusively just see them like when we went to each other's house to film and at like work events.
Yeah.
And like outside of that, we don't talk. All I see is the same thing you see, whatever they post on social. And I would feel this like weird pressure when I'd say like, go live on Instagram. And somebody would be like, oh my God, how's XYZ creator doing? I love him. I would feel this need to like perform friendship, to be like, oh yeah, I think they're good. We actually just saw each other 2 weeks ago at this event that I was at. And like, that would be true. But like, realistically, my answer is like, I don't know how they are. I saw them for 5 minutes where we like had a quick catch up.
Right.
Like, it's like this weird thing where it was, it's like, we're not friends. This was like a business exchange. This was a work thing that we did together because we we saw mutually beneficial outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fine. Like that's strategy, But it's super interesting. So I feel like I fortunately haven't had too much of that experience. I definitely think I had a time where I really wanted to be friends with a lot of creators. Like I think, back to when I was first like really living in LA as a creator, and I desperately did want to be friends with certain creators, and not for bad intentions, but just because I was like, oh my God, we're all in this industry and
you love their content.
We should all have so much in content. We should all have so much in common, and like how cool we do this thing, and like let's talk. And that was just like not the energy I was met with. Like I almost think people, they assumed everything was like social climby or like exploitative, so they like didn't open themselves up. One of my hot takes with LA is people say like everyone sucks there, or like no one is nice, and there's always, and I'm like, and who's creating that energy? The people who say that. Because when I walk into a room or an event, I want to shake hands with everyone. I want to talk. I want to get to know you. The first time we met, I went up to you and I was like, Molly, I know who you are. I love your videos. Like, I want to say hi. I was nervous. I was like, she's a big YouTuber. I don't want her to think I'm being weird, but I wanted to say hi. And like, you were so normal and down to earth, and we had a great chat. But some people are like, hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Oh, yeah. And then it's like, they're just like creating the tension that actually doesn't have to exist if you don't create it.
Yes.
And I think I just eventually gave up. And like all my friends are not in the industry except for my actual friends who happen to become creators. But like, if you ask me to like name my core group of people in LA, they don't work in content. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was sad. I would love to be friends with more creators.
That was how I felt. Like a lot of the creators I collabed with, like I collabed because I was a fan of them, and the dream to me would have been to be their friend. Like it was like, And that's part of why when people would ask me online about them, I would almost like pretend.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be their friend. And I grew up being so badly bullied, which is why I loved watching social media, because I didn't have friends to hang out with. So I had friends on the internet that I would watch. And so to then have people think, oh my God, like she has all these cool friends. Like she's one of the popular YouTube girls. But like behind the scenes, I'm not. Like I didn't feel like I was like such a shitty feeling.
Yeah.
And it was harder for me to admit that than it was to just play along.
Right.
That I would, yeah, I am really their friend.
And you don't get it. You're like, but I'm nice. You know, I've had people that we've been on panels together. We've done events together. We have like a lot of crossover. And like, I still don't understand what, like, I'm like just so confused at like what and maybe people don't like me or someone doesn't like me and that's life and not everyone likes everyone. But there's some things where I'm like, I think that these people just build it up because it's what they want to keep. They want that reality to be true and not the reality that like people are actually nice and they're friendly and they're helpful and like no one's out to get you or like use you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, you're a very likable person.
Oh my God,
so
you're
I
so sweet.
can't imagine somebody like upon meeting you being like F her. Like you have like a very likable personality
thank you.
immediately in a social setting. But I do deeply believe that like most people in LA are good people. Like, but there's of course certain circles and certain people you're going to come up against that are social climbers. That's just inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what's a superpower is when you don't need anything from anyone. That's like the superpower where you can just be like, I don't need anything from anyone. Like we don't need to get a picture together. We don't need to take a TikTok together. Like
that's where I feel like I'm at in my life. I'm
totally.
like, I don't.
Me
it's
too.
Fine. It's fine.
Me too. No, I feel the same, and it's nice. And I think, yeah, it's nice. Thank you. You're so sweet to say that, and I feel the same about you.
I am the type of person who will walk away from any interaction, and then that night I am like replaying the conversation and all the reasons that person might now hate me.
No, me too.
And then like because like, well, they didn't text me back when I said like it was so nice to meet you, so they obviously didn't because I offended them and they hate me because maybe it's because I said that thing.
Right.
And then they text me the next morning. They're like, hey, sorry, I was so busy. So great meeting you too. And I'm like, huh.
I know.
Wow, I just wasted an hour of my life overthinking everything for no reason.
Literally.
Every time I leave a social setting, I was too loud. I was obnoxious. People were irritated by me. Like I like tear myself apart for that because high anxiety.
I've literally, like you just described perfectly. I feel the same way. What keeps me sane is I'm like, I know I have good intentions. So I'm like, I hope it came across, but then I overthink all the time. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, thank you. You're so sweet.
We love anxiety. Okay, now it's time for the awkward question. I always like to ask an awkward question that people might want to know but are too afraid to ask. So I'm curious, as somebody who has been really intentional about setting boundaries with what you share, but is also a very open, vulnerable person. Is there anything in your life right now that you feel like you should be sharing but you aren't?
Ooh. That's a good question. I am going through an exciting life change right now. Not pregnant.
Honestly, my brain immediately went pregnant. That's not pregnant. So funny.
Not pregnant. This is why I feel like I can't post about it, because if I say I'm going through something exciting and I'll wait to tell you guys, they're going to be like, you're pregnant. I'm not. But I think maybe I'm like, oh, I should be sharing a bit about this thing, but I'm waiting. This is the thing, though. You got to always be like, I always say I got to be 3 steps ahead. I got to be 3 steps ahead of something before I invite like thousands of public opinion into it, because I'm fragile. I'm not superhuman. So like, I want to be confident and make the decision in my life with my family, my friends, my husband, and be like, I feel good about this. And then here, world, I'm doing this thing, or this is what's new. And like, say what you want about it, because I already feel good about it. So like, maybe that, but no, I mean, I think this podcast episode has inspired me. Maybe I want to talk a bit more online like this week about the whole, just like, am I putting myself in a box? Am I being put in a box? Like the identity thing, I think I could maybe open up about, but then I gaslight myself and I'm like, oh, you're going to get on and be like, I'm struggling with my identity. Like, can I grow and evolve? Because I'm like, but my life is like, you know what I mean? So then I tell myself, just shut up. No one cares. And then I'm doing the bad thing that I'm advising you not to do.
I care. I feel that in a box struggle all the time. Like, I feel like the world puts me in a box just because I am disabled. And so, like, they've put me in that box and they won't let me out. And it's so annoying that no matter what I do, I feel like the world companies, businesses have like put me in this box, and unless there's a reason to open that box, they're not going to. And it's like a very annoying, frustrating feeling that like, I didn't put myself there intentionally. You all are, and now I'm trapped.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That sucks.
It is what it is at this point. Like, I feel like the good news is the box I'm put in is a box I love, is a box that's purposeful. It just is hard feeling like it's the only lane that I'm allowed to be in.
Mm-hmm. I hope this is the start of us both jumping out of our own boxes, no matter if people care, if they watch it, if the views are high, but because it's like what makes us feel better and like lights us up. Because, yeah, we only get this one life, and I would fucking love to watch you talk about makeup and not feel like you have to tie it to
People
something
say it,
greater.
Victoria, but then they don't watch it.
I'll watch it, and I'll be commenting. Oh, the wedding content. I want all the wedding content. And it just, however you want to talk about it, because you're a bride-to-be.
I'm gonna pick your brain as a former internet bride.
Perfect. I'm happy to. And I think that could be a really fun way, like, to bring in as exciting thing in your life and not have to tie it to DEI if you don't want to.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what's coming next. But for people who want to keep up with you, where are they able to keep up with what's next for Victoria?
Yes. Well, they can follow me on Instagram. It's Victoria Garrick Browne, and TikTok. And then my podcast, Real Pod. If you want to go back a few years and listen to Molly, she was fantastic. And I feel like it's a classic episode.
Can I spill some tea on that episode?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was struggling really severely with PMDD, but I was undiagnosed. And when I came that day, I was like deeply in a PMDD spiral. So I was like more feisty and sassy than I like usually would be. But I was just like, I give no fucks. I am irritable and PMSing and depressed. And so I'm just going to like give no shits and I'm going to say it as it is. And so I feel like I was like really like harsh on that podcast.
No, you were not harsh. I do feel like now I'm remembering this like fieriness.
I was
feel
spicy.
But I was loving it. We were liking it. I love that. I think I'm glad you came to my podcast that day because that's perfect. We'll meet you where you are, however you are. I thought it was great.
Which is hilarious because now I still have PMDD, but I'm diagnosed and just popped my Prozac today.
It's a full circle moment.
Day one of the luteal phase. So yeah, full circle moment. Now, I want to end this podcast the same way I end every conversation, which is to say, what is it really like to be Victoria Garrick Browne? Because now we know who she is, but what is it really like?
I would just say it's normal in the sense that I feel mentally inside my body. Like I'm sure every person feels. I think that sometimes when I'm like thinking of people who maybe look at my job and are like, oh, I want to be an influencer. And like if I had this type of page or if I had that many followers or this type of career, like everything would feel like perfect and I would feel happy. And it's like, I feel like in my life, there are still people I can look at and be like, ooh, if I had that type of brand or that type of following, or if I had built a YouTube channel, you know what, all those things like. So, I mean, I guess I would say like, I don't feel that special. Like, I think I don't know. I'm not one of those people that's like, I feel like I'm everyone, like just like everybody else. And I think that, I mean that in like, I guess hopefully like a wholesome way, like, you know, so I think all that to say, like, do what you love. We're always still going to be like remembering the past versions of ourselves, growing through those versions of ourselves, and hopefully doing something that we enjoy or building towards something we enjoy and something that feels meaningful and like it has purpose. But I like being myself. I think that that's come with my healing, as I don't want to be anyone else. I don't want to look like anyone else. I don't want to change to copy someone else. I just want to be me. And if anything, I'm trying more to discover what that means. What would I really wear if I wasn't so influenced by like culture? What would I really say? What would I really post? What would I really do? So I don't know. Is that an answer? That's a hard question.
No, I love that. I love that your answer is normal because we often use normal as a bad thing, but normal is so great. Like to feel normal is the best feeling you could feel because think of all the alternatives: anxious, overwhelmed, stressed. Like normal is great. And like I think we often with celebrities and influencers end up falling in the same category. We other them, like we separate them from being human. They're a character on our screen. And we forget that like they are just people. And all the time, like, I'm just a normal person.
Mhm.
Like, when people come up to me and they're really, really excited and overwhelmed and like, oh my God, I've loved you for so long, and they get really emotional, I'm like, I feel like I don't deserve that because I'm like, I'm just a person. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just a normal person who posts shit on the internet. And like, I'm so glad it resonates, but I don't feel like I don't want people to put me on a pedestal.
Mhm.
And so it's so important to talk about the fact that, like, truly we are just normal people who make content for a living and because it's a passion and a purpose of ours. But we are just people. And I don't know if you get this, but I get a lot of people in comments who like comment as if it's not my comment section. Like, Molly looks tired today. And I'm like, that's Molly's comment section that she's scrolling. Why are you talking like I'm
That's
not,
funny.
like I'm an other? It's very strange. So I feel like
Yeah.
to feel normal and to want to be seen as normal is definitely like a feeling I can relate to.
Yeah. And I put anxious and all those emotions in with normal, like we're never immune to experiencing the spectrum of human emotion.
Yeah, which comes with feeling like shit, feeling like a boss bitch, and feeling somewhere neutral in between, depending on
All
the
within like
moment.
the same day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and having this conversation with me. I feel like my own mental health needed this, so I appreciate you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for having me and inviting me. Like, I'm so honored and I'm so glad that you have a podcast. And just like congratulations on everything. And it's been so great following you throughout the years and like getting to have these touch points in person throughout our careers and as we evolve. And I'm always in your corner.
Well, thank you. This is very foreign to me. It's intimidating sitting down and interviewing somebody who's done this for 7 years
No.
because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm floundering. I'm just like
Molly, you
attempting
crushed
something
it,
here.
and you don't get to have notes, and you don't get to have cheats and look at your phone or anything. Like it's and you didn't.
This
hem
is
or
just a
haw.
conversation.
No.
I'm just sitting here talking.
You literally crushed it. Like your questions. I mean, you're such a natural, and you're so good at this.
Well, half the time you kept trying to turn it on me and make it your podcast, and I'm like, damn it, it's working. I got to circle back to you.
That's so funny. I'm interested.
No, I loved this. This was such a great conversation, and maybe we need to do like a triple date sometime soon.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Well, thank you all at home for listening. Make sure you're following the podcast over on Spotify and, of course, on my YouTube channel. And now you know what it's really like.